introducing you to Denise Williams, who is the Director of Purchasing at Essex County Community College, or Essex County College. And I will be providing you with some details about us at Greater Newark Enterprises Corporation. But because everybody has a busy schedule today, I can do that towards the end of the presentation. Okay, at this time, I'd like to hand you over to Denise Williams. Denise, it's all yours.
Thank you so much, Al, for that. And thank you to the Greater Newark Enterprise Corporation for having me here today. I'm happy to share this information with business owners. At Essex County College, I oftentimes go into the classrooms and meet with the students to talk about different procurement opportunities and my role and function at the college. And oftentimes also to recruit students to work in my department. And so I have several work study students that come into my department and teach them about procurement and the different opportunities. And as business owners at Essex County College, we also have opportunities for you as well. If you're thinking of getting any type of certifications, taking any types of courses, whether it's in Microsoft Word or Excel, we definitely provide that opportunity and a resource as well as Essex County College. In addition to that, you are also welcome to rent out different spaces of our facility. You could definitely contact the phone number on the screen, and you're going to get a copy of this entire presentation deck. So you'll have that as a reference. So today we're going to talk about like where the money resides is really in government contracting. And so we're going to go over what are some of the things we look for at Essex County College to get you onboarded as a supplier, answer any questions. So it's important to understand one, the procure to pay function, which starts from the purchase requisition phase, which is the department deciding that there's a need. So that's typically what happened around this time. Graduation is in a few months and we're ramping up for that, right? So we're looking for suppliers to provide like promotional goods for us, whether it's branding with the Essex County College logo on an umbrella, for example. So if a department is interested in doing that, they would then put in a request into our system. We have an ERP system at the college saying we're looking to buy some umbrellas with ECC branding. We reached out to a vendor for a quote and we got quoted at, I don't know, $300, for example. Eventually, that requisition goes to a series of internal approvals, and then it comes to the purchasing department. Purchasing will take a look at it, reach out to the vendors if we need any documents, and issue the purchase order. The purchase order is what you need before you should provide any types of goods or services to anyone at the college. The purchase order is your contract that says, once you provide these umbrellas, you're going to get paid. And our standard payment term is net 30, which means 30 days from the date you delivered the umbrellas is what, and after you invoice Essex County College, that's when you're going to get paid. However, there's also what's called like an internal match almost, where the departments at the college need to then say, yes, we received the umbrellas, accounts payable, go ahead and pay vendor ABC. So as business owners, you always want to make sure you follow up with your requesting department to make sure that they said that they received your product before, in addition to submitting your invoice. So I absolutely love procurement, lots of certifications in procurement. I will burn your food in a heartbeat and your pots and your pans, everything. But when it comes to government contracting and procurement, I'm your go-to person for that. So in the purchasing department, we have a team of four, including myself. We have Cherie Johnson, who's a buyer. There's Wilkins Jean and Lashandra. So at any point in time, we're working with the departments throughout the entire college. So everything that the college purchased goes through the purchasing department. So everything meaning if they're going to get scrubs for the nursing students, if they're looking for an equipment, if it has to do with construction, purchasing gets involved in a lot of those projects. So procurement is the acquisition of a good or service. So it's how we buy things. And so as a consumer, you're buying things, right? Even as a business owner, for example, right? So bring me, you're going to the store and you're looking for gas, right? For your vehicle. You're going to decide, do I go to the gas station where they're looking for is the same amount, whether it's cash or credit, or do I go to the gas station where it's cheaper for cash and a little bit more expensive for the credit cards, right? So that's an example of procurement. You're trying to figure out where you're going to source this gasoline that you need. Yeah. And at the college, we also purchase fuel, right? So everything that the college needs to operate and function, I think that we purchase and flows through the purchasing department. So to get you a little started, I want you to take a look at the screen and in the chat, if you drop down and let me know what types of contracts you think went into play based on the images that you see on the screen. The venue, very good, absolutely. So at Prudential Center is where we host our graduation for a long time, year after year, including this year is going to be at Prudential Center. And so I'm involved in that contract negotiation process in terms of Prudential Center, like the devil's how much it's going to be, how many hours we're going to get. In purchasing, I work very, very closely with our legal team and so we go over the contract terms, obligations, which ones we're going to negotiate, and so forth. So you're absolutely correct. The venue is a government contract, and that is at the Prudential Center. The cap and gowns, absolutely. That's a contract. Good job. The food, yes, the food is, yeah, the food is also a contract too. The programs, right? Um, Even the scrolls that the students are wearing, that's also a contract. And don't forget the vehicle over here. You know, the signs. Yes, you guys are really good at this. Now you also see the vehicle on the screen. We also have Essex County Police. So the vehicle itself, the purchase of the vehicle, that's a contract, right? The wrapping of the vehicle to put the ECC brand in, the words police, all of that, that's another contract. And we all know if we have a car, we got to do what? We need to maintain it, right? And so whether it's an oil change, a tune up, tire replacement, maintenance, that's also a contract. And in fact, we're looking for if there are any vendors right now that are in that space of auto, definitely reach out to me in purchasing. Okay, you'll have the slide of my contact information on there. But good job. That's all a contract. So if it's legal, there's a government contract for it. We just got to figure out which agency buys that particular good or service that you provide, including those flowers you see on the screen. That's also a contract too. We work with some local florists for that. All right. So in procurement, especially with government contracting in Essex County College, we're governed by the County College Contracts Law. It has a bunch of different regulations. So you'll see in a minute the different types of documents that we're going to require. And this is not a document, these are not requirements that Denise came up with. This is like the state regulations and requirements in terms of documents. So at the college right now, we have a bid threshold of 41,600. That means if the college thinks that we're gonna spend 41,600 on, let's say, this pen, we are either gonna put out a public bid, asking everybody telling everybody, "Hey, we're looking for blue pens, and we want 10 million of them," right? 'Cause we think it's gonna be over our bid threshold. Or we're gonna go and see if there's a state contract for those particular pens, because we could do what's called piggybacking off the state contract. That is great because then we don't have to put out a bid. Or we could do a cooperative, right? And so there's so many different ways we could actually buy the things that we want. Now, anything that's fall between $1 and $6,240, that's a quote. So oftentimes the requesting department is the department that says, "Hey, Denise, we found a vendor to do, I don't know, pen decorations for us." I'm just making it up, okay? Pen decoration for us, and they give us a quote of $300. At that level, purchasing is not going to go out there and try to put out a bid or anything like that. We'll simply go ahead and make sure we have different documents in place and issue the purchase order or the contracts. So here's some cooperative agreements, the state of New Jersey. So if you're a vendor on this call, you have your own business, you want to be checking NJ Start, which is the state platform, to see if they have any bidding opportunities that you can provide, right? So they may put out a bid for snow removal. They may put out a bid for auto repair. I'm just, whatever it is that they have, if your business could provide it, it is in your best advantage to respond to that bid. And if you are then awarded a contract with New Jersey State, then you could go to, let's say, come to Essex and say, "Hey, Essex County College, I have a state contract to provide blue ball pens, right? And so if that's the case, if we need to buy 2 million of your ball pens, we can simply go ahead and issue you that particular contract because we're going to piggyback off the contract you have with the state, right? The other cooperative, and there's several, so you may want to definitely do that as like so a takeaway where you go into Google and type in New Jersey purchasing cooperatives. For example, here's another one I gave you on the screen. This is the Educational Service Commission. So they also put out different bidding opportunities. If you were to win a contract with them, you could essentially go to any other different government agency, college, university in New Jersey and say, hey, I was awarded the contract under XYZ, and this is my number. And they too could piggyback off of that. Okay. Here's another example. Okay. So right now, here's some examples of what they're looking for at EC&J Cooperative, see pool repair, right? Visitor management system. So if you see opportunities like that as a good fit, I highly recommend you respond. So at the college, we have all of our bids posted on our website. There's no vendor portal where you get to register or anything of that sort. You would simply go to essex.edu. You scroll all the way down to the bottom and you select where it says vendor opportunities. And on that page, that's where we list everything that we're publicly looking for. Now, if our bid threshold is 41,600, chances are the things we post there we anticipate that the cost is going to be greater than that. Okay. Also on Essex County College website, so it's essex.edu. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom again, you want to select where it says finance agreements and forms, and that will give you a sense of the different documents that we look for. One of the most common ones that's used by vendors would be this consultant agreement. So let's say you wanted to come to the college and teach the students how to create their LinkedIn profile. Okay, I saw that over here, right? If they really want to use your services, they're going to eventually give you this consultant form to complete, which you will put in like you'll tell them your price. Hey, it's going to be $200 to come in and do a 1 hour workshop. They'll put $200 on there. They'll give you this document. You'll sign off on it. They say it's a 1 hour workshop. So you'll give them like your scope of work, right? What are you going to do in that 1 hour workshop? We're going to look at each student's individual LinkedIn page. We are going to give some feedback. We're going to select in different images and pictures that they could put on there. I'm just thinking out loud with these. I don't know if that's what you do in the Brandon, right? So you would have that. So they would ask you to complete that form. Eventually, this document is going to come to my department in purchasing. I'm going to review it, or someone in the purchasing team will review it. Make sure you have everything completed, and we work closely with legal to also review it. And then eventually it gets signed off by the president of the college. So he signs off on every contract in the college. So they'll ask you for some common documents like your W-9, if you have a resume, if you have a business, and so forth to move forward. Okay. But this is what the form looks like, the contract. Right, this is the scope of work here. You'll put that there. If you have a proposal, oftentimes the departments will say proposal attached, and your proposal would be on there that says how long your workshop is going to be, what are the topics you're going to cover, what activities, and so forth. Okay. Now, the state of New Jersey requires us to post our bidding opportunities in the newspaper, and we also do that. I'm not sure if you guys still get newspaper delivered. I think they recently stopped that, but it's also posted online. And when you get this document, you could click on the hyperlink right here where it says legalclassifiesnj.com and just type in promotional items, for example, and hit search. You'll see every government agency that's posted that they're looking for promotional items would appear. So that's what it looks like in the newspaper, but except right now it's electronic. So you could use that as a really good resource to just search for other contracting opportunities that are available in New Jersey that was publicly advertised, irrespective of the agency. Okay. So it's not just Essex. Okay. One of the documents you absolutely must have is your New Jersey business registration certificate. So if you're a legitimate company registered in New Jersey, whether it's an LLC, whether you're a corporation, you need to have that document. When you form your LLC, it will tell you, it gives you a prompt that says, do you want to use this time to like apply for your New Jersey business registration certificate, you should say yes. If not, then you could still go back into the system in order for you to get it. If you're not sure if you currently have it, you could just you go into Google, for example, and you type in NJBRC lookup, and you're going to get this whole document. So you'll see it. It's going to pop up on the screen that says the online business registration certificate service. You're going to put the first 4 characters of your company name and the first box, the first field, and the second field will be your tax ID number with 3 zeros at the end. And then you're going to hit submit. If you have one, it should show up on the screen automatically. If you don't have one, it doesn't mean, if it doesn't show up on the screen, it doesn't mean that you don't have it. It just means maybe your business was set up, I don't know, in 1980 or something like that, and it's not on their online portal. So then you want to reach out to the state to just confirm that. But you absolutely gonna need to have this. This is so this, if you go back to essex.edu, scroll all the way down to Office of Finance there, and then select Finance Agreements and Forms. You're going to see a section that says Vendor Registration. These are the forms that we require based on your contract amount. So if you're working with a department and you're helping them with career services and showing the students how to create the LinkedIn profile, and you gave them a contract, your proposal says it's for 10,000, you're going to select the one that's in the middle because your purchase requisition is going to be above the 6,240. And all the documents that are in there is what purchasing will eventually let you know that we need. And you would have to complete and submit. And you would do the same thing. If it's less than that, you use the one that's under, and anything above that, the 17.5, then you have some new set of forms you need to complete. This is another important document that you should have if you're working with any government agency in the state of New Jersey. You should definitely apply to get this employee information report. You could do it online. It's $150. I think they charge like a processing fee of $4 or so, but it's good for about 5 years. So once you have it one time, it's not like you need it for every single county, state, or university or college. But if you have a government contract, you want to really have it. Now, depending on the dollar amount, whoever you have a contract with currently may not have required that you have it, but it's always a good idea to have it if you have it, whether it's $50 because the state of New Jersey does not have a dollar limit on when this document is needed. Okay. Some terms you need to know. Addendum or addenda is a change to a document. So that really goes into play when there's either a formal bid or RFP that's been advertised. Any changes to that, the college would then issue an addendum. And you need to make sure that you track it. If you have any questions about that during the process, you can always reach out to the purchasing department. There's usually in a bid, we'll have the email address where all questions should be asked for. Okay. Purchase order, that's the contract. You want to make sure you always have a PO in place before you provide any goods and services. And the requisition we spoke about earlier, that really starts the process. It defines the need. Right? So that the college, we also have another process called a check request process. In this step, you would not receive a purchase order. You simply get that check like right away. And so there are certain things that fall underneath that criteria. We have memberships. So maybe I'm not sure what kind of businesses we have. We have I think let's see, chips on there. So let's say she started a membership for chips. Students that likes to eat chips membership. Right, and the membership cost is $200. So if the department in the college wanted to purchase the CHIPS membership, you would give them that invoice and they would issue you the check. You wouldn't get a purchase order in this case, all right? Things for travel, conferences also go through our check request process. This is an example of what the purchase order look like. I sign every single purchase order on behalf of the college. And so it has the college information, the department that actually is paying for this particular item, your contact information, a brief description of what it is that you're going to provide. And then usually get it in an email that says, hey, now that you have this purchase order, put this purchase order number on your invoice and send your invoice to the accounts payable department. So our accounts payable department is the department that handles all payment to all vendors. Okay. So we have a contract writing process at the college. The president of the college signs off on every single contract. So, if you have a contract in place, you should see that the president is the one that signed off on it, not a department head or not myself or anyone else. You want to make sure everything is in place. Is an example of an invoice. So we have to advertise all of our bids with the Star Ledger. And you see how the invoice has a PO number on there? When you submit any type of invoice, make sure you have a purchase order number on it. Oftentimes, vendors tend to not get paid on time or within the net 30 because they're submitting invoices that do not have a purchase order on it. Right. So the purchase order is your contract. You want to make sure you always have that on your invoice. Yeah. This is my contact information, and you're going to get the deck. You'll have that. I'm here to take any questions at this point. This was an overview of how to do business with the college. We buy a lot of stuff.
Hi. Thank you so much for this information. It's very helpful. I wanted to know, do you guys like is there a chance for someone that's a sole proprietor to be granted a contract, whether it be with you guys or with the state that you're aware of?
Absolutely, and I was just looking through, some of the participants that's on the call now. I actually sometimes will do the same type of webinar at the college as well, and I've had this one vendor that joined, and they shared that they did, like, promotional items, right? And, they shared what their services did, so if it's a really good idea to just get in the chat and say what kind of business you have, and so they did that, and they actually received a contract from Essex County College to provide some promotional items. So you could absolutely be a sole proprietor, but we need to know who you are, what services you have to offer. So as a rule of thumb, I always recommend that companies one, they let people in procurement or the purchasing departments know that their company exists. In my role, I work with every single department. When I tell you, when it comes to marketing, I'm there. When it comes to legal, I'm there. So we purchasing work with all the different departments within the college to help them find the services and the vendors that they need to support the different programs of the college, right? And so we need to know that you exist as well as the different departments at the college that could utilize your services, right? So, for example, I see on the screen, there's someone who does LinkedIn branding, right? Maybe our students who are graduating may need to know that they need to have their LinkedIn profile be up to date. What are some do's and don'ts of things they may want to consider posting on LinkedIn, right? So purchasing needs to know about that business as well as the department that can use student affairs. Perhaps the student affairs might be interested in having them come in and do a workshop on LinkedIn branding, right? So think about the different departments that could utilize what services and goods you have to provide as and reach out to them and let them know about your company. Send them things like your capability statement. Right now at the college, if you go to essex.edu, at the very top is the college directory. In the directory, you're able to filter in on the different departments. So you may filter in on the department for purchasing. You'll see my contact information there, as well as everybody else on the purchasing team. Send us a copy of your capability statement. Let us know what kind of business you have. You also want to go back to that same directory, filter down on the departments you think that could utilize your services, send them your capability statement, let them know how you could also help. So
Yeah,
you absolutely
I'm
can.
I'm sorry, Denise. I just want to ask Veronica a quick question. Is there a reason why you are a sole proprietor and have not uh, become an LLC?
Sorry, so I do have an LLC, but like I don't have employees, I guess is what I was trying to point out. And I
Okay.
do more, let's say, financial services and, basics on financial literacy, building, your budgeting, stuff like that, which I think is key for kids starting in the work world. But I just didn't know if I don't have like employees and things like that, would that hurt me?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not
Yeah.
absolutely not. In fact, you don't even need to have an LLC or corporation. There are companies that, depending on the dollar amount, you could simply use your social security number if you wanted to, right? You don't have to have a formal company. So don't.
Yeah. I only asked that question because a sole proprietor is a legal a business entity, but it's only good in the county that you have do business in, and that's why as a business uh, coach, etc., I always recommend that they go for LLC. But uh, th- uh, that's
So
why I
sorry, you
asked the
said
question.
You said if you have an LLC, it's only.
No,
I'm
no,
sorry. Can you repeat that?
no, there are different business entities. It starts off
Okay.
as sole proprietor, then LLC, and then you go on from there. But if you stay as a sole proprietor, a legal entity, you can only do business and protect it only in the county that you live in or your business is located in.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay, but you are an LLC, which is a good thing, and hopefully you also have your business liability insurance to protect yourself as well.
So I wanted to know, like, what about like the cafeteria? Like, I would love to get into like the cafeteria, like for our chips to be sold in the cafeteria. Do I go through you, or how can I introduce myself to see if an option?
A good question. So at the college right now, in terms of chips, we have vending machines, and we actually just awarded a contract for the vendor to provide the vending machines, who then have the food, so they stack everything too. Chips is one of them because students like chips. And but in terms of the cafeteria actually has a separate contract, and so we have a company who is the vendor that supplies everything for the cafeteria. So if you wanted to reach out to them directly, that's the only other option, but we don't facilitate that process.
So how? Okay, yeah. So how can I get who's the vendor so that
So
I
that's
can?
a very good question. You could go ahead and send an email to when you get my contact, send it via there, to get that information for the vendor.
Oh, great! Thank you so much.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
Denise, are there any set asides? I don't in terms of certain demographics.
Yeah, good question. No, there are no set asides at Essex County College.
There's a question about my company sells snacks. Does the college buy snacks, or how can I get my snacks into the vending machines?
Right. So the college, we do buy snacks, but we do it for the vending machine. So we put out a bid that says we're looking for vendors to provide snacks. I think it was like beverages as well. And companies responded, and we did recently award a contract for that. So those companies the company that was awarded that contract would be the one to supply everything in there. So that is, again, with that one, you would have to reach out to the company and try to see if they're interested in working with your company and what that looks like. We don't facilitate that process. Whenever you see a bid advertised for vending services, just like as a tip, you might want to see who has those plans, meaning who has the current bids, who's in the market for vending machines, and let them know about the snacks that you have to provide. Because if they win that contract, then chances are, if they're interested, they'll have your snacks in those vending machines.
There is a question in the chat about my company does catering. Who do I engage to have that conversation?
Very good question. So, since you could definitely reach out to my department, reach out to myself, send me an email of like your capability statement if you have one, or a sample of what your menu looks like, because we also do purchase catering for whether we have staff functions, we have different events at the college. So that is also an option too. But always let purchasing know and the departments that could potentially utilize your catering services.
Can I ask real quick, are there any services or any, um, I guess, yeah, services that would not go through your department? So, like, in other words, I have years of experience in data privacy. If I wanted to find, opportunities to work with the county college, I don't know, on a consulting basis or something like that, I'm just curious if there's anything that would not go through your team.
No, everything comes through us. We all, even with check requests, the check requests I spoke about before, depending on the dollar amount for that, eventually purchasing gets involved as well. So everything goes through purchasing.
Hey everyone, this is Kevin from Dynamics Multilingual. Denise, I actually just recently saw you at BidFest, so it's nice to see you again. But I had one question. So you mentioned regarding emailing specific departments for universities. Is there a certain contact that you would recommend for certain departments, or does it kind of just depend on, what it is you're trying to do?
It would be the decision makers in those departments. So purchasing always at whether of a college, university, municipality, purchasing needs to know about you, as well as the decision maker. So the decision maker titles could be director, it could be VP, it could be chief information officer titles, right? you want to let them know that about your company. You may also reach out to, maybe there's another, like a secretary, an administrative assistant. They may be in reach and contact with the particular director. So also let them know about your company. But, on a weekly basis, we have major corporations, right? And they come into our office saying, hey, we'd like to do business. They'll either drop off a flyer, they'll drop off the capability statement, they'll mail in different catalogs. So as small business owners, you really need to also feel comfortable, or find someone who is comfortable in making those outreach, giving the phone call, sending the email, or sometimes showing up. And that depends on the organization. There's some organizations where if you don't have an appointment, you cannot come in. And so you want to keep that in mind and show up to different events. You guys are here today, which is a good thing. When you're attend webinars, in the chat function, like, advertise your business. What do you provide? You never know who's needing your services. I mentioned earlier that there's someone right now that's participating, and they attended a How to Do Business for Essex County College that I hosted. And I asked about their company. They shared their information, and they ended up having a contract. And that contract is a multi-year contract, currently with the college. So, we need to know that your company exists.
Yeah, Denise, during your presentation, you did show a .com or .org, I believe, for New Jersey in general for contracts. Can you go back to that page a second and maybe
Sure.
touch on that a little bit, because it would be good for the folks to recap and understand that they're not just limited to Essex County College, that they have that ability also to look at contracts available at other locations.
Right. So it would be NJ Start. So NJ Start is where they'll post all the different contracting opportunities for the state of New Jersey. So if you see something related to what you provide, I highly, highly recommend that you respond to it if you could provide those particular services. And once you get awarded a contract with that, it's pretty golden. At that point, you come to Essex County College. Hey, Denise, we are on a state contract to provide promotional goods and items. And this is what we could provide. We could do umbrellas, we could do bags, we could do phone cases. And if a department is interested, say, hey, well, I go to the board and ask the board for permission to award a contract to your company for X amount of dollars, in order to provide these promotional items. So as business owners, you definitely want to pay attention to what NJ Start has, the opportunities that they have. They had one recently, not so long ago, for public relation firms, right? So sometimes they'll have marketing. So they have quite a few opportunities, as well as these cooperative is another one.
Do you know if their processes are similar to yours in terms of documents and things like that?
Yeah, their processes are similar. Excuse me, their bid thresholds is a little different, but we all have different regulations. So they'll also give you like the Iran disclosure, the Russia, Belarus forms to complete, because we're required in New Jersey to complete have those vendors complete those forms. So there is some similarity.
One question from Julie. Does the college buy sports equipment, specifically boxing equipment?
We buy sports equipment. We do have athletics team. So we look for athletic coaches. We look for trainers. We buy all the equipment. Definitely. I'm not sure about boxing. I know we've bought stuff for soccer. I think soccer. I don't remember which one. But we do have an athletic department. So with that, I would say go to essex.edu, select the option that says athletics, see who the contact is over there, and let them know the kinds of products and services you have to offer.
Yeah, to that point, on what you have on the screen right now, I noticed that there's one athletic surfaces for outdoor tracks, and that is opening April the 9th. So that's the kind of thing that everybody who's on the ball right now might benefit from, looking at that website.
Correct. And actually, ESCNJ has an event coming up in May. I think it's May 19th or something. They have an expo. So you may want to be at that expo. A lot of people in procurement are going to be there. I myself will be there to see the different vendors that are in the market, in the industry, to hear what they have to offer and see whether or not it'd be a good fit and which departments at the college could benefit from what the vendors are going to be providing. So definitely attend some of these conferences. Rutgers has a conference coming up the end of April. I will not be at that conference, but I'm sending my team. So my team will also be there in person, again, looking for vendors, listening to them to hear what they have to offer, to see what value that they could bring to Essex County College. So you want to be in rooms and places where decision makers are. Conferences is definitely one of them.
When you mentioned conferences right now, do you have any like how do I find out about more conferences, I guess, to your point, since it would be a good place to go or to start?
A very good question. So you could maybe if you Google like New Jersey purchasing conferences. So Rutgers has it every year. I think it's like the 55th year. So Google Rutgers New Jersey purchasing conference. And that is in Atlantic City the end of April. Then there's the League of Municipalities conference in November. You want to definitely check that out. So a lot of these conferences are not free, right? So as business owners, you're going to have to make the decision and say, is it feasible for me to attend this one? Could I do all? Maybe I could just do one this year. And so, but those conferences are where a lot of decision makers are, so and it's in an environment where they're open to hearing about your company, right? So,
Yep.
yeah, as opposed to trying
Makes sense.
a face-to-face office. Like that is something, honestly, I don't even do. So, in terms of vendors coming in, only if they have an existing contract, I would have a meeting. But other than that, it's more of the conferences.
My other question was, does it matter how long your business has been, or how long your business has been in business, I guess?
No, not what to deal with things when it comes to quote. We really want vendors to do what they said they're going to do and actually show up and perform. So that is the key. So we look for things, even like vendors that do balloon decor and decorations, like that is something around graduation time we are looking for, right? So it's trying to find vendors to do that. And we keep in mind, we don't pay, like you're gonna get a purchase order and you're gonna have to provide the goods and services. If you could show that you could do the work and as described, then eventually that contract is going to grow and you're going to get more work. So it does not matter if you started the business today or tomorrow, as long as you could if you could perform in a quote case, right? When it comes to like an RFP or a bid, there's information in there that says we're looking for someone who has experience for X amount of years, right? So that's a lot different than something that's informal and that's a quote.
Gotcha. And then my last question, I promise, is do you guys look also for how much do you weigh like whether businesses have certifications? Like for example, women-owned businesses or minority-owned businesses?
We don't have a set aside program right now, so it's not a factor.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I'd like to just, we also are lucky enough to have Dr. Joby on the call. Joby, we can give you a couple of minutes if you'd like to discuss what your department does at the college.
Thank you very much for that. My name is Joby Adene. We do have set aside opportunities at the Essex County level, and that applies to women-owned, veteran-owned, LGBTQ-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses. If you get your certification from the NJ Department of Treasury, you can contact me. I have my information in the chat box, and I'll walk you through the process. In addition to that, if you are hiring new employees, we can I'll reimburse you for the salary of your new employees up to $10,000 from our workforce development perspective. If you're interested in that too, please reach out to me.
I'll give a quick commercial about us. As I mentioned in the opening, we are a nonprofit. Although we have Newark in our name, we cover the entire state of New Jersey. We provide clinical assistance. We have a backstop program, which I can share with you. And if you give me a call, we can chat a little bit, or I can set up a Zoom call. Also, we provide small business loans. We have a Dreammaker loan, which is a small business loan up to $30,000. We have a business builder loan, which is a loan up to $100,000. We look at credit capacity and collateral, and we do have certain interest rates that are applicable to certain demographics. So there's a host of services that we can help you with. Also, definitely would like to thank Denise for all this great information that she provided to us. Thank you, Denise. Just remember that this is being recorded or has been recorded. And we can also reach out to you individually if we have any questions.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Thank you, Denise.
You're welcome.
Take care. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Have a great rest of the day.